Recording has started. What I'm going to talk about now is some considerations when you're a IP person, be it in-house or external, and you're preparing a pitch to the CEO. I'm going to talk a little bit about some considerations that apply. First of all, why are you making a presentation to the boss? So I divided up into three types of reasons. Type number one is what I call housekeeping. Okay, it's ongoing work. You have a budget, you want somebody to approve it. You are in charge of IP, so you want to report the status of IP. As part of your job, you want to set new policies for IP. So again, the CEO might have to approve them and you want to tell them about them, you need their cooperation and so on. Second possibility is what I call a bottom-up event. Something happened in IP or is going to happen in IP, and you think it's important enough for the people up top to know about. And it could also be an opportunity, not just a problem. You suddenly realize, oh my God, we have this great opportunity to sell our technology not only to Airbnb, but also to Booking.com. I should talk to the CEO about it. And there's, of course, the other possibility you have an argument with a different department. Marketing wants to put every single secret the company has on your website. You need somebody, CEO, to mediate between the two of you. The other type of situation is what I call a top-down event. It's something that happens from on top. Okay? If you get a letter threatening or actual litigation, you're going to get a call from legal counsel saying, listen, we got a problem. Or maybe the company has a problem, some sort of crisis, and then everybody gets told, tell us how you can help. And everybody includes marketing, but also includes IP. If there's a due diligence going on because of an investment. And sometimes, could happen, the CEO suddenly realizes that he needs more IP, or that there's an IP opportunity, and he calls you up and he says, hey, let's talk IP. Now, I'm only talking about the CEO, but obviously in a company, you sometimes talk to a different department. Let's say if you now have to make a presentation to the head of sales, I'm not talking about that, but similar rules will apply. Who cares about IP other than us? Well, if you look at the budget, the IP part of the budget is usually small or very small. On the other hand, IP is complex and it's obscure and it's slow. So a lot of CEOs simply say, you take care of IP, I don't want to know about it. Even when they don't do that, I guarantee you that most CEOs are not thinking about IP all the time. One of the results is that IP is often happening in parallel to the companies. The company's doing R&D and marketing, and IP is filing patents, and maybe the two of them are connected and maybe not. In any case, IP does not appear to have usually an immediate effect on the company. And IP people, what it looks like is they keep on asking for money and they keep on saying, don't do this and don't do that. Okay, not the kind of people you actually want to talk to all the time. But sometimes the CEO does have to think about IP. The investors might want him to. He might get a letter. Competitors might publish something. We got a patent. That can affect your CEO. Or the very fact that you have competitors entering a market. That might also make your CEO say, wait a minute, IP can be used to block people. Maybe we have IPs that can block our competitor. Whatever the reason, the question that you always need to answer is, why are you presenting now? What is the reason for presentation right now? So in order of from simple to complex, maybe you just want an approval for your IP budget. Maybe you want an approval for an IP plan which affects the company's IP position. Maybe you want to align the IP with the business goals, or aligning the business goals with the IP situation. Maybe you want to ask the company not to do something that the company wants to do. Or maybe you want to ask the company to do something that it wasn't planning on doing. And maybe there's some sort of IP related situation and you want to propose a solution. And maybe you want to give the CEO a choice between two or more options, which are a life-changing event for the company. Okay, as in they change the company's direction or the company's viability. In this workshop, we're doing the last one, hopefully. You've seen the IP situation that we've worked on before, and how should you be looking at it? And I want you to think about what I say now in view of what you've actually done in the past 2 hours. So IP is usually a supporting function. It doesn't do everything by itself. And that means that when IP becomes more interesting, when it can be used or abused in a strategic way. Abusing is, for example, when you infringe. And how often IP can be used or abused in a strategic way, often depends on the IP person. In any case, if you have a situation, there's two big questions to ask. One is, how big is the issue? What is the gravity? And on the other hand, how urgent is it to take care of it? Now we come out of our IP box. What is the real underlying issue for the company? Okay, you're working in a company, a for company, and you might see an IP situation as, oh my God, we're infringing. Oh my God, we can get a patent. The question is, how does a company look at it? What is the real issue? Is a company in danger of losing market share? Does a company have an opportunity to buy a competitor at half price? Same thing with outcomes. What outcomes is a company looking at? And that's divided into outcomes that the company wants to avoid and outcomes that are possible and good. What opportunities are being generated again for the company? What resources, including time, does a company have that you could be part of? Is it just one solution to the situation, or is it multiple? And in that solution, is IP the main issue, or is IP, just a supporting function? You have to take care of it, but IP on its own won't do all the heavy lifting. Now, let's take a look at how the CEO might be looking at the situation. Or I should say, how you should think about how the CEO will look at the situation. First of all, how much appetite does a CEO have for risk? Meaning, something might not work, but you know what the likelihood is, and uncertainty where you don't even know what's going to happen. Now, one thing I can guarantee, it's probably different from yours. Next, what is worrying the CEO or should be worrying them? And look at all these words that have nothing to do with IP. Cash flow, growth, existential risk. Other departments in the company might be making more trouble. The CEO might have some experience with IP. She might have some understanding of IP. Often it translates into language and metaphors that CEO can understand. Now, I'm not saying it's easy. It's difficult. What do you want the CEO to take away from the presentation? Okay, you're going to have a presentation and then he's going to have a phone call with somebody else. So what do you want to stay? And in particular, it has to be believable, it has to be acceptable, and it has to be memorable. Now, why did I say immediately after the meeting he's going to get a phone call? Because the question is, when will the CEO make a decision on what you present? Will they make it, during your presentation? Will they make it 2 weeks later? That, of course, affects, what you present and how you present. And we already said before, IP is often not the main dish. So what other things are happening that might steal the attention of the CEO? And if his attention is stolen, they might not listen to what you say. But there could be other reasons. Maybe you're wrong in what you're presenting. And maybe the CEO actually does understand IP, at least as it reflects on his current situation, better than you. It can also be an ego problem. So I've seen two problems with ego. There could be more. One is they believe they have great technology, which means that they have great IP. And if they have great IP, everything is well and there are no IP problems. Or maybe they had some past experience and they're generalizing from it. They're saying, oh, yeah, I know what happens in patent lawsuits. We're going to win. It's okay. No problem. Let's go. Maybe the CEO never felt the pain of IP problems. Or worse, maybe they had a terrible IP problem and they just overcame it like that. Luckily, that's going to affect how they relate to IP. The CEO might not trust the IP person. And two basic reasons is that they've worked with you before and that's why they don't trust you, or they haven't worked with you before, and that's why they don't trust you. Okay? Now, you might be giving the CEO too much or too little information. You know exactly what I mean, having gotten at least too little information. The argument that you make to support your position might not be convincing. The CEO might feel that the urgency that you feel doesn't match the urgency that they feel. And if there's a mismatch of urgency, then maybe everything you're saying doesn't make sense. And you always have to consider the particular CEO. Each CEO is different. And if you didn't match your message to that particular CEO, you can have a problem. In order to make it easy for you, we're not giving you a CEO, we're giving you 3 CEOs, and each one is different, and you don't know what they're like. So that should make it easier. Okay, so we're making a presentation and we want to generate a solution. What are the goals for the solution? So number one, I'm reminding you, it's a solution for the company, not for the IP department. So it has to put the company in a good enough place or even better place than they are now. We would like the solution to reduce the risk to the company, reduce uncertainty, and also reduce how much resources they're spending. And maybe 2 out of 3 would be nice as well. The solution must consider nature and your competitors. You know that nature is always causing problem, nature being the world outside, and the competitors intentionally cause problems. So whatever you do, there's going to be pushback. So any solution you give has to take that into account. On the other hand, you can definitely consider potential partners who might help. The solution should fit in with a company vision. And in rare cases, maybe you can convince a company to change their vision. We're not going to make mouse traps. We're going to make bowls for cats to eat out of. Sometimes you can do that. And also super important, IP usually doesn't work alone. Will the other departments in the company cooperate with your solution? Bit more you have to think about when you put together your solution. If your solution is a novel solution, it can be novel good or it can be novel scary. Okay, if things are too new, people say, I don't want to do that. Nobody's tried it before. It's scary. If your solution is complex, but even if it's simple, somebody has to manage it. Who's going to manage it? Is the solution 100% IP? You're going to manage it. If it's not, somebody's going to have to manage it, especially if it requires people changing what they're doing or cooperation between departments. And if we're talking about managing the implementation, how long will it take to implement the solution? Is it a 1 week solution or 5 years? And especially if it's 5 years, you need some sort of feedback mechanism, some milestones to see that what you're doing is actually being done and it's actually working. And when you get feedback which tells you it's not working, you have to be, your solution has to be flexible enough so it can change. What does the other solutions look like? And last but not least, if there's a crisis in the company or crisis in IP, people are stressed. How long will it take for the stress level in the company to go down? I should say the stress on the company to go down as your solution is implemented. Some solutions make the stress go up. There's a limit how long you can do that for. So we have a solution and you're building a presentation. What are your goals in the presentation itself? One of them is that it should clarify what the issues are. Another, if you're proposing a solution, it should be clear who is doing, how much it costs, what are the risks or downsides, what are the advantages. It should be a solution that people can remember after, because they're going to need to. You can often use a presentation as an opportunity to educate the CEO about something relating to IP. Not too much, but at least one item you can probably educate them. You want to reduce the complexity of the situation, and you want the presentation to show that what you're suggesting is helping the company move forward instead of stopping. It's not, don't do anything until I check freedom to operate and file 4 patent applications. Okay? Even if that's a correct solution, it sounds like stop what you're doing, let me go ahead. And super important, this is the CEO. He could fire you. She could give you a raise. So what does the CEO learn about working with you? Are you part of the solution or part of the problem? Should they work with you only if they have to, or should they call you up early next time? Do you have the same vision as the CEO has? She would really like to know that. What does that mean? It means the presentation should be short. I don't know, 5 slides is a good number. Why it's important should be clear. When you present, you should expect interruptions. The presentation should be revisitable. In other words, the CEO should be able to look at it again next week and understand what's going on. You should have a specific recommendation, but it should be clear how you got to that and if there are alternatives and if you can prove that that's a good one. You should be clear that not all is perfect. You know, what are the problems? You should be clear how much attention they might be required to give and what are your requirements for other people in the company working. And of course, one way you show the CEOs that you're connected is by using language that the CEO uses and relating to concerns that the company has. Finish the presentation. This is not going to happen today, of course. What's going to happen now? Well, when you have a presentation, you get feedback. For example, you made mistakes, there was information you didn't have, you didn't know what was happening other places, you didn't know what the attitude or the goals of the company are. That's feedback. You're going to get it during or after the presentation. But what are you going to do with it? Also, you're going to have insights. You thought the situation is such and such, but presenting it and getting feedback suddenly gives you an insight, maybe about the context, maybe about the problems, maybe about your solution. What this means is that the presentation is not the end, but the beginning. You're going to either get homework or assign it to yourself. And if there's a decision, it might take time, which means you have to make revisions in view of this feedback you got or insights you had. But I'm not saying that your presentation should simply be, oh, here's all these questions I have, please answer them. The presentation should be a great presentation that allows the CEO, if they wanted to, make a decision, maybe a bad decision, but make a decision. Reality will probably, but not always be, iterations. Thank you.